science behind this, and I need help with 7 kids and my social autism. I need help on this. So that's when I'm like, okay, she moved out, so she moved to another dimension. So cheerleader, she needs cheerleader. She needs encouragement. She doesn't need a teacher dad. She doesn't need a coach dad. She needs somebody to say, honey, I'm so proud of you. You're amazing. Like, wow, I did do that, but I didn't understand the science behind it. And then my son, when he moved out, he had some challenges with keeping a job, disciplines. He's amiable expressive, and so neither of them like their father. And so I'm like, okay, what he needs teaching. And then level 3 is coaching. So I learned these 4 levels from my kids, from 4 teenagers and 3 others. So 7 kids. So there's an absolute science to move and accelerate people's growth. You can accelerate people's growth so fast. It's insane. So, after the psychology of people, what we need to do, after we finish this course, we keep doing this session, and we go ahead and do the story, like the story behind the music. Like when you hear a song.
There it is. There it is. You got it. End of the day.
Like this one here, Walls of Opportunity. My wife loves when I tell this one. Like Walls of Opportunity is with my wife. And you both know, some of the history there and how she's doing great and healing from stuff and, just amazing woman. Just love her more now after 35 years than, when we first fell in love. She's unbelievable what's going on. But, she gets so stubborn. She gets so locked in. Like she'd close everything down. So walls of opportunities were burst. And so people say, boy, I wish I had your mind. And it's like, well, not really, you don't. Like, you really don't. Because these natural laws, like all of these that you see here, sorry, trying to get to them, all these natural laws, like all of this stuff here, all of these come from pain. I mean, there's curiosity. It's a combination of 2 things. It wasn't until we just finished preparing for this course that I discovered the 2 things, curiosity and pain. So at the beginning years when somebody said, Mark, this is just how it is, I'm 23 years old, I'm like, it doesn't have to be this way. There's got to be a reason. And so curiosity. But most of this, the deepest principles, have come from tremendous pain in my marriage or with my 7 kids or family members or employees or friends, very close friends. So these, so pain is what's, like I don't believe in medication, so pain is probably what's kept me alive. I mean, doing this, it's my therapy to map this out and say, okay, you're in a lot of pain, Mark. There's a natural law that'll heal you. You won't have to take medication. You won't have to go through therapy for, decades and decades. There's one that's called the magic atomic ball principle that we discovered in helping girls being rescued out of child trafficking and how to heal them very quickly.
So, a question.
Yeah.
If I look at the first one, which is the third one, the one on the far left.
Yep.
And then I look at the second one, there's a lot of open space in the second. Looks like a lot of open space. Maybe not. Maybe it's just covered up.
No.
Anyway, there's more open space there than any of the other 2.
You'll notice that the second one, there's a lot more than in the first one. There's a lot more boxes. And so the program that I use to document this is actually 30 years old. 30 years old. They don't even make the software anymore. And so I just got used to putting it in here in my journal. And so it became too big where the program couldn't handle it. so then I'd create something, and then I'd start drilling down into it deeper. and then deeper and deeper, and then, but I couldn't fill the whole thing up or it'd crash the program.
Oh.
So this is why, like the healing that this can bring to people. This is why when Dave Libby said, "What's the most powerful thing you have in your toolbox?" I said the natural laws. When he said it's action vision, who was right? We both were. Because the natural laws govern everything, but without action vision, without the structure of the 3 DNAs, it's unmanageable. There's a new piece out there that engineered clarity, that the 80 white papers, like Life Masteries has been pursuing how to organize these natural laws for probably over 20 years, and they couldn't crack the code on how to organize it. Although, Tom, with my 5 grandkids and another one on the way, Melissa's pregnant. I don't know if you knew that. Yeah. She and her husband, very excited. And so I'm now starting to build Grandpa's Magic Couch through EC2 to transfer the 25-year value system that I created for our kids. So I spent 3 years taking every value I discovered, and then I broke all those values down into 25 years and then built a curriculum management system for our kids in the homeschooling. And so there's a 25-year value transfer system that I have that I'm giving to Life Masteries that they can then put into EC2.
Pretty amazing.
Because I want to inject it into my 5 grandkids, because it seems like the culture continues to go ahead and get tougher and tougher. I was far, far more intentional in raising my kids than my parents were. But even with all that additional intention, you know, my kids struggled a lot more than I did and my brothers and sisters did. And so the vision for this is to raise...
So, can I ask you a question?
Yeah.
Do you think it's hard for me to, when I look at, you know, all the stuff that's going on and, you know, harder to raise kids and whatever, is it because of the technology and the communication?
So this is something I discovered probably about 5 years ago. So Ben, you remember him when he was just 7 years old? Well, he's 20 now. When he was 16, Tom, he was on the couch in our living room with my 96-year-old grandmother. And they're sitting next to each other. And she's like, "So Ben, what do you do for fun?" He's like, "Oh, Grandma." And she was an amazing woman, 96 years old, and still, like, unbelievable, so sharp. And so he's like, "Oh, Grandma, I hang out with my friends." And she's like, "Oh, really? So what do you and your friends talk about?" And he blushed. And she looked at him and then giggled, and she said, "Oh, Ben, you don't have to tell me. You guys talk about girls and how hard your parents are." She jumped, she gapped 8 decades. And she connected. So what happens, Tom, is the science behind it is you're absolutely right. The technology has created a distance between the generations where the younger ones think the older ones don't know what they're doing. So it's severed the respect between generations. And so it's why people are just getting, you talk about the chaos in the world. So this is the vision for Life GPS, to raise millions or billions of dollars to go ahead, and if technology severed it, technology can go ahead and repair it. And lifegps.org, the mobile app, I believe is going to go ahead and heal between the generations, because it can identify the personality in 17 seconds, and as soon as it does that, now all of a sudden it draws the person in, and the grandparents can go ahead and understand things. And then, like the story behind the law, or the story is when I ask you, Tom, when Daniel, my 7-year-old grandson, like when, Ginger Ann was pregnant, I asked a bunch of people, you being one of them, and I said, I'm out there searching. I'm like, I want to be an amazing grandfather. So I asked a whole bunch of grandfathers, what suggestions. Your suggestion was focus not on your grandkids, but on your daughter and your son-in-law. Never forgot that. I'm like, that is unbelievable. Nobody else came up with that suggestion. Another uncle said, tell your grandkids stories. So the Jewish nation, when you think about what the Jews have gone through over the years, and you look at how they've been so successful, like people haven't tried to enslave the Jews. They're not putting them into slavery. They're trying to kill them. They're trying to wipe them out, like destroy them. I mean, but yet they succeed. They're the best storytellers in the world. And so the vision that Life Masteries has, and a whole bunch of other people, is to take the stories of the grandparents and feed them into the next generation, all generations, through the mobile app based on the personalities. And it'll repair it. It'll heal it. So recruiting, onboarding,
hey, Mark,
yeah.
I'm sorry, I was going to add a fun fact to your Jewish history.
Yep.
Great storytellers they are. So, there is the Bible and the 5 books of Moses. And what a whole lot of people that are not Jewish don't know is that there is also a secondary Bible. It's called the Talmud. And that is all passed down generation to generation. They're stories that were passed down. And so the ideas and concepts are captured, but it wasn't recorded like the Old Testament, the New Testament. So the Talmud is oral stories passed down,
Awesome.
Since it began. So pretty cool.
It is. So when you look at the screen now, recruiting, onboarding, retention, we need to internalize the true values of natural laws. Onboarding, we need to internalize the true values of natural laws. Retention, we need to internalize the true value of natural laws. Like the importance of storytelling, the importance of embedding, like why does a company do what they do? And passing that on to, future generations. And so, one properly designed, engineered boss system has the ability to cover every area, any group of people we desire to impact. It's the 3 DNAs. And so we've gone through, we've gone through the three DNAs. So what are we going to do next in the psychology of people? We've laid the groundwork. We're excited. We're pumped up. We're motivated. We're inspired. And so now we've got to go through, and we've got to take we're going to bring all of this together. And it's going to require, the quantum thinking that we discovered in the Leverage Project. And so all of these pieces are interconnected back and forth. So lesson 3, one system for everything. And then now we're in lesson 4. And so it's see, think, and do. So natural laws leverage everything. So the three energies, so you take all of the 500 natural laws and they can be condensed down into three things: seeing, thinking, and doing. All of them connect back into that.
So question for you.
Yep.
This is something that I've wondered about forever. So you take the Jewish people and how they were tortured and killed and whatever. And we all know that. But yet there's not the hatred between them and us. Right?
Yep.
At least I don't think so. Then you take the Japanese, who at least the American Japanese during the war were taken to camps and just pulled out of their homes and put out in the desert in these camps. But yet they seem to adapt and, I don't know, forgive or whatever, but we still work together. But you take the black people, the slaves, and for some reason that just doesn't seem to be able to find a way out. What's the deal?
So, Marie and Paul, you both have strong history in Jewish tradition, both raised in it, I believe. And
Yes.
do either of you have insights on how the Jewish culture, the Jewish nation, how they have been able to forgive and move on and prosper?
On Broadway, they had one word, tradition, and it's absolutely true.
Well, I know this is semantics. It's not a nation.
Sorry.
So the Jewish people did not. There is no. Okay, first of all, these were Nazi atrocities. There is no forgiveness. They are a loud vocal voice whenever the March on Skokie, etc. So moving on is moving on. I mean, you go back. There were Syrians. There were hundreds of cultures enslaved the Jews from time beginning, and so that's a very specific group, hate group, Nazi, white, the Aryan nation, blah blah blah, Japanese, same thing. The attack on Pearl Harbor all makes sense. Tom, I think that's a fascinating question.
Credit card activation service.
And I pondered this forever. It's like, move on. We know the atrocities that happened. I think part of it is it stopped happening. Never. There is still a culture of hate. I mean, it's targeted to all kinds of people: Jews, blacks, Hispanics, Asians. It doesn't matter. I don't think there's been enough time for the African American community to because that was everybody, and that was Americans. Our ancestors, that the enslavement and everything. So my 2 cents, and whoever said tradition, which is a very valid point, because the Jewish people, it's about culture and tradition. Religion is almost secondary to the traditions and the culture. So didn't really answer the question. It's one I've pondered forever. I personally feel it's time. Not a lot of time has passed.
Okay. So
But the slave issue was happening long before the Nazi deal with the Jews and or us and the Japanese here. So they had far more time than any of the other two.
Right. So, you go back to to not Genesis, Exodus. We'll do our Sunday Bible study, and so that was the freeing the Jews from enslavement to the Egyptians. So that was whatever, thousands of years ago, and they lived rather happy, peaceful existence. There were the Spanish Inquisition was a horrible time. The pogroms, the systematic cleansing that's been going on in Russia, Poland for way before 1940s, and Hitler, and so I'm not sure that there is. I mean, there are a lot of people that.
So what we'll do is we'll go ahead and keep this going here, but let me finish this up just so. So what we're going to be doing in the next lesson is dimensional thinking, helping people to think differently. And then we'll be going into quantum systems, and then next step is turning learning into earning. And so you can see how every lesson builds, and when we really understand, internalize each lesson, you can see how it truly is unleashing human potential, like everyone. It doesn't matter age, ethnic, gender, experience, education. We understand these natural laws and leverage these natural laws, and we're going to have success. If we don't, we won't. It's very simple. I mean, it's not complicated. So who do you want to partner with? Do you want to partner with CPAs or accounting or real estate, mortgage, technology? I mean, the psychology of people, it's more than just a 7-week course. It's like a movement to understand at a deep core level things that seem to have eluded governments and humans for a long time. It's coming to collaboratively bring value to everyone. And so we've gone through each of these. It's really exciting. Now we're moving into, the application of these, which is the internalization. And that model, and then that's going to lead us to the ability to think in a dimensional way, and then to build quantum systems in what we're going through. So again, if we just, like each lesson, just internal, like take great notes, go through it. This is not a destination, it is a journey. Number one, connect with your art mentor on what you learned, actions you will take, and the next thing you need to learn. 2 is deep learning comes from helping your 2 art buddies to manage up and out and apply what they've learned. So you think you're learning the most from your mentor, but you're really not. You're learning the most from your 2 art buddies because they're helping you. And then step 3 is turn learning into earning, follow through, and there's a number of different ways to do that. So important, so critical. Definitely get part of a mastermind group because that's where you get the pre and the post, and we don't record just but a small portion of it, the best of the best, and I think you got a good, flavor of it today. Always remember, we can accomplish so much more together than we ever could on our own. Have an amazing day. Bye-bye.